So, all right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Dallas Chamber of Community Affairs. We love having this forum where we can just be real and have those questions and answers and connections to our community members and leaders. Today, our guest is Jessica Metta with Mid-Columbia Economic Development, and she's going to give us some updates and all the fabulous things that they're working on to help support our businesses and more in our communities across the gorge. So, but first we're going to start with introductions, and I'm going to start with the person in the upper right for me, and that is Scott. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Scott McKay, Community Liaison for Circles of Care. We connect volunteers with older adults who need some type of periodic support. The only thing I'd like to mention is that at 10:30 today at the Senior Center, I'll be presenting Let's Look Together. It's just an informational meeting regarding how to access ADRC, Aging and Disabilities Resource Connections, and 211 info, trying to help people understand that that's a tremendous resource to identify what resources they may be looking for in the community. Thank you.
Great, Scott, thank you. And can you put that info up in the chat, please, again, so that people know exactly the time of the meeting and all that? So that's one way we can help and push that and promote it. I know Corliss will help us out with that because she's got so many different connections and all of those things. So David Peters, you are next.
Good morning, Dave Peters, Mid-Columbia Housing Authority, Columbia Cascade Housing. No huge notices. We're still looking for an experienced housing developer. So if you know one, send them our way. Thanks.
All right. David, have you listed that with like LinkedIn and Indeed or actually our employment office too?
So yes and no. We had listed it about 3 months ago, and then I think now we're working on expanding the role to maybe be, an even a more management position as well. So, okay. I mean, it was out there before. I think it's been withdrawn from all those. We're working on getting it kind of recrafted, and then we hope to get it out, I think, as early as next week.
Okay. Don't forget you can list that on the chambers too.
Yeah, you're on the list. Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, Corliss.
Good morning, everyone. Corliss Marsh with Columbia Gorge Habitat for Humanity and the library and the Senior Center. I just wanted to point out that tonight at the library is cowboy poetry, and it starts at 6 o'clock. So you all come, and summer reading starts off next Tuesday at the library. So things are happening and we're hopping. Thank you.
Thank you, Corliss. Brian Tuck.
Hi, yeah, Brian Tuck, retired, sitting here by the campfire with my cup of coffee, so life is good, all the way up here in Bridge Park.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Have a marshmallow for us, okay?
I will do so.
Thank you. Sue Davis.
Hi, good morning. Sue Davis with the Columbia Gorge Community College and the Community College Foundation. And the thing that's going on for the college right at this moment is we have graduation tomorrow. So 3 o'clock. And
all right.
Yay. Yes.
Awesome. Congrats. So yes. Thank you. Phil Brady.
Hello, Phil Brady. I'm here in Dufur today, going out on the crop tour. Two things going on from the county. One, and this will relate to MCEDD, is the county and the city are starting to think about putting together the SIP and enterprise zone money from Google into a big bucket and create an endowment that could give us, like, say, $1 million well into the future. So it's saving for the future that would stabilize our tax rates. The other thing we've done, we had a special meeting, was it yesterday, before yesterday, to put some investment into the Wasco County Fairgrounds and Hunt Park, get the rodeo grounds up to shape so that all the riders and all the people who go there, and even the animals, will be happier so they don't injure themselves running around on the rodeo ring.
Great. Thank you. Dan, are you on and functioning? No.
Barely.
Oh, there you are.
I don't
We
know
have
what's going on.
picture and
Yeah.
sound. We don't know what the other one is, but you are there and there is sound.
I'm sorry about that. I went in and joined from my browser. The link was not working for some reason for me.
Okay.
And I'm not able to see everybody. I've just got a single view here. Sorry about that. Dan Spots, Economic Development, City of the Dalles.
Do you have any roles going this morning?
Nothing
Are
dramatic
you
to report
still?
this week.
Muffins
We're
or rolls
plugging away at
happening?
urban renewal, trying to determine capacity of the agency and narrowing down a list of projects. First Street continues to be a challenge, reconstruction of that street. So we should have more guidance, I think, within a couple of weeks. Probably it for me for now. Sorry about the drama this morning. Thank you.
Nope, you're fine. All right, so Jessica, I'm going to bring you on. And for those of you, I'm going to duck off because now you are in great hands between Jess and Dan. And you guys have an amazing day, and I will catch up with you next week.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Well, thank you, everybody. I was just gonna give I have like my MCEDD overview presentation, but this group knows us really well. But I'll still go ahead and go through it just because, but maybe in a more conversational way, just because we do so many different things that I think sometimes it's easy to forget them all.
Jessica, I totally agree with that. I think I feel like I know what you guys do, but you do so many things. So it's nice to have like all of the things brought sort of to the table so we can kind of look at them together. So
yeah. Good. Okay, let me try to. Oh, I gotta do that. Let me try this a different way. Okay, there you go. Does that look good?
We can see your screen.
Okay. So I do believe that Carrie Pipinich attended these somewhat regularly, perhaps. So she was our Deputy Director of Economic Development, and in particular works with the Wasco County Economic Development Commission. So she was our boots on the ground in Wasco County. She moved on to a position, a great fit for her at Ford Family Foundation. So the good news is that I've hired a new Deputy Director of Economic Development. His name is Andrew Dannies, and he starts on Monday. So I'm looking forward to having him attend these and meet all of you. So let me see, how do I go on my slide? Yeah, so this is our mission to promote the creation of family wage jobs, the diversification of the economic base, and the growth, development, and retention of business and industry within the 5-county district. So while it's really talks about businesses, a lot of what we do is really helping the communities get ready for businesses. We cover this is the 5-county district, so Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman counties in Oregon, and then Skamania and Klickitat counties in Washington. Our office is in the Dalles, behind Home Depot, and we have we're run by a 22-member board of directors. We have a representative from each of the county commissions, a representative of the cities of each county, chamber rep for Oregon, Washington, a ports rep for Oregon and Washington, and then there's 9 private sector representatives, and has folks like Dr. Lawson with the college. It has an agriculture representative, Ken Bailey has been on the board for a long time. So Scott Clements is there representing private business and housing, and so a lot of folks that you're familiar with. We kind of group our work, and that's where, like I say, we have so many different things, but we try to group it into these 3 buckets to at least help talk about it: business assistance, technical assistance, and regional coordination. So under business assistance, we have a small business lending program, and that's what, when I give presentations, I try to hammer that a little bit more, maybe less so with this group, but because that's where a lot of the public interacts more with us, because a lot of the rest of our work is really more directly with like local governments and our partner agencies. And so if somebody on the street has heard about MCEDD, it's probably from our business lending program. We're getting more involved under this category, I would also say, with entrepreneurship. And we have some opportunities here to really grow our support of the entrepreneurship community. I would say in partnership with the Chamber and the Small Business Development Center. So I'll use this page to talk about, we have gotten several grants like Business Oregon's Rural Opportunities Initiative, which is the one that enables us to do things like the Wasco Innovators Drinks, and then the Pitch Fest, which was last Thursday. And that was great. We gave out almost $23,000 in grant funds to 5 businesses that 5 out of 50 applicants were picked to actually present their company to an audience, a live audience, and then a panel of judges with entrepreneurship backgrounds. From there, they picked the top winner, ended up with, I think, a little over $16,000. Because she won there was multiple awards and you could win a couple of them. And that one, the business was called Skamania and Friends, and they work on curriculum for schools, mostly for schools, to be teaching how to help children prepare for emergencies like natural disasters, active shooters, which we don't, never feels great. But it had a definite, it was really friendly to the children. Like she had developed this like Sasquatch. That's what the Sammy and Friends is like. It was like a whole cast of characters, like Sasquatch characters, to help teach them about emergency preparedness. So it was pretty cool. The other newer project that we got under this is Business Oregon's Regional Innovation Hub, and that one is, so those 2 programs, the Rural Opportunities Initiative and Regional Innovation Hub, and I know it's a lot of words to say, how can we better support the businesses that are trying to, make something new or grow or be successful here. The Innovation Hub is a little bit focused more on businesses that have the ability to, so like traded sector, so people that are making something here or creating some kind of service here that has the opportunity to really scale, or be sold outside of the region. So that's, but we are hiring right now. It's called a Venture Catalyst Project Manager. This person will be able to meet one-on-one with those businesses and really connect them to a network of resources across the state that are here to help businesses like that grow. And then also the goal of that position is to bring more venture capital into the region, which isn't really happening right now. We also do things like we work with tech companies to help them specifically grow and be successful. We're contracted to manage like the Tech Industry Association. On the business lending program, just a couple highlights. We fund any kind of business, really. It can be retail, restaurants, products, so manufacturing. We've done services like HVAC companies, doctor's offices. And so the main reason why somebody would work with us is because for whatever reason, we actually, they are denied by a commercial bank. So that's one of our requirements, is actually that you have a denial letter from a bank, because we're here to work with those businesses that are just a little bit risky and help them, prove proof of concept that they are viable, fair, and then they graduate to a commercial bank. Because they are a little bit risky, our rates tend to be a little bit higher, but we can, and these have not been, I would say these statistics were accurate as of December. So, and our business lending program has been around since 1980, actually. We've been doing this, and have loaned out 21.3 million 2,500 jobs created, retained. And so it's a revolving loan fund. So as people pay off their loans, then we're able to lend those dollars back out. So besides our own pool of money that we manage, we are contracted to help manage funds that are held by the Oregon Investment Board and Mount Hood Economic Alliance. We just try to say it's one-stop shopping for if you need a business loan and can't get one at a bank. That's where we're here. We can have really flexible terms and can take unique things as collateral. Oregon Investment Board, I mentioned, yeah. So there's a couple other loan clients that we've supported. I'm gonna skip this as a video. So those are just, again, talking about, we have, I would just say, multiple flavors of the same thing, which is business lending. We do also have a unique lending fund to support attainable housing. So that's anyone developing housing for folks earning up to 120% of area median income. That one we have made the rates competitive. They're actually, I think, lower than a bank to try to get those dollars out the door. And it was money that we received through Regional Solutions about 12 years ago. So it was $2 million. And again, it's revolving. So as folks pay off their loans, we're able to get it out. In the Dalles, that fund helped with the Honnold building and then a couple projects that Charlie Foots built. While the projects are paying off the loan, which are usually around a 5-year term, 5 to 8 year term, they have to make sure that the rents are held at that affordable, attainable level. Or if they build something and sell it, they have to sell it at that attainable level. Technical assistance. So that was the business assistance bucket. Technical assistance bucket, that's where we serve as, I would say, professional economic development staff available for hire, and work a lot with our government partners to help administer grants, write grants, all different kinds of, economic development projects, like, and so that's where we have a contract with Wasco County to serve as the staff for the Wasco County Economic Development Commission, and are able to do a lot of work with the small communities. For example, Pine Grove Water District, trying to help them meet their needs of improving their water system. This picture, Mid-Columbia Center for Living, the county was the eligible entity for a community development block grant to fund this project, but then they contracted with us to help administer, especially on the labor standard side, which can be pretty specific skill set. And so that's where we're here to help make sure that our partners are able to get projects done. Under this one, we also include, we serve as we help with the Hood River County Energy Council. So we have some kind of renewable energy support going on. I think I'll just leave that here for this one. And then the regional coordination, the third bucket, that's where, since we have this unique regional role, we can serve as a convener for topics that are affecting more than one jurisdiction. Broadband, transportation, and regional economic development planning is a couple examples. So under broadband, we've held the Gorge Broadband Consortium was something that we started convening a decade ago, bringing folks together to talk about where are we with broadband, where are there gaps, how can we solve those problems. And that's morphed a little bit into some like county specific, like there's a Wasco County Broadband Action Team to continue that work. On the transportation side, for about 15 years, we've been convening the Gorge TransLink Alliance, which is a network of the 5 county transportation providers, to talk about how they can learn together, work better together, improve their services. In the last few years, those services have really taken off. We had some specific work we helped bring people together to then create the Gorge Regional Transit Strategy to look toward the future. So it's what does the community want for the future of transit in the region, and how will we get there? So that's had been the focus, and now we're working on implementing that, which is a lot of working with the transit providers to help the even like granular details of when people are transferring from one service to the other, how are those buses meeting with times, bus stop naming convention, making sure we're all, announcing stops in the same way. We helped come up with the Gorge Pass, which is that it's the $40 annual pass that you can ride 4 of the county's just fixed route bus services for the year. So it's an excellent deal. And then kind of on the side of this, so we had been doing this mobility management work, this regional coordination work around the transit systems for a number of years, when we were approached by Mid-Columbia Council of Governments as they were dissolving, and asked if we would want to take on operating the Link, which is the public transit in Wasco County. And so in 2018, we started also then operating one of the transit systems. And if that's something you would be interested in, we could have Jesus come at another time to just talk about all the details of like what the Link has going on. And then also under the regional coordination is our CEDS, our Columbia Gorge Economic Development Strategy. And this is, so we are actually our cognizant agency that recognizes us and gives us our district boundaries is the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EDA. And we receive a little bit of regular funding from them to develop and implement this regional economic development strategy, because they really believe that this is the bedrock of a strong regional economy, where we're bringing people together to talk about where are we, where do we want to go, how do we get there. This is something we develop every 5 years. So this was the most recent one that was just adopted in 2022. And it has, I think, that's some of the next slides. So it has a vision. It has, it's all the things. It's going to be an amazing economy. I'll just summarize it as that. It's a very detailed vision. It has a SWOT analysis. And from that, we looked at demographics and economic data and came up with 4 priority goal areas for strong businesses, a robust workforce, resilient infrastructure, and powerful regional collaboration. And under infrastructure, that's the most detailed one. Actually, it has specific sections for transportation, for housing, because housing is one of our biggest economic challenges. It has a section on water and wastewater, broadband, and energy, I think are the 5. And under robust workforce, in developing this plan, this was the first time that childcare showed up as an economic barrier, which we all knew and was highlighted, especially during COVID. So childcare, but affordable housing has been in the plan for several iterations at this point. But so each of those goal areas has its own goal statement. We don't have to read it all. And then action strategies under that. And the plan, I say, it was really developed by the region for the region. And so all of these strategies are not things that, for example, that MCEDD would be the lead on, but that some of them are things that partners would lead and we would support, or even there's things in there that we don't do very specifically, like workforce development. For example, that's where we like look to the college or East Cascade Works or things like that. There's just some other, so one of the other pieces that we do is annually we try to bring everyone together to talk about some updates on the plan and hear something, learn something in depth about the strategy. We call it our annual economic symposium. It's always the first Friday in November. We'll have some kind of keynote speaker. This last year we were able to get a much snazzier keynote speaker than we usually do. Steve Brown is like an AI expert and was talking about will AI mean for our governments and things like that. So it was really inspirational, a little terrifying. And then we usually have our local economists present their view of where we've been over the last 12 months. And it's really a great networking opportunity. One of the things I was going to mention in the strategy, so while it's a 5-year plan, every year there is an appendix where it has priority projects. And that's where we work with each of our counties to develop their own top 10, generally infrastructure projects of things that are expected to have some kind of movement in the next year. Are usually looking for some kind of state or federal dollars, and where being prioritized will really help boost their success of achieving those dollars. Some grant programs actually from the EDA, for example, require that your project is even listed in the CEDDs, and the USDA has been leaning on the CEDDs a little bit more also. So that's where we work with Wasco County. We call it the Community Enhancement Project process, to work with each of the small communities to get their key project priorities, and then go to the county commission with a suggested top 10 list that they have the ability to move around, and then the county adopts their top 10. It goes to the MCEDD board, where MCEDD adopts a regional, an Oregon top 10 and a Washington top 10 project list. So that piece does happen annually. And it includes things like the Resolution Center, and it has included like Dog River Pipeline. I'm not going to be able to think of other specifics, but oh, and of course you can see Lisa in this picture looking fabulous with her coat and her boots as one of our MCs last year. So that is it. I'm happy to talk about anything in a little bit more detail. We have a monthly newsletter that tries to summarize a lot of the different pieces that we have going on. And yeah, so if you're not getting the newsletter and are interested, let me know. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Thank you, Jessica. I had to drop my video. I'm having some bandwidth issues, obviously. I'm assuming that people can see each other on the meeting, and invite people to thumbs up on questions, raise your hands on questions, or I've got a few, but I'm going to defer to the group.
First, I'll just give some kudos to the transit. I've been using it in a couple ways. I mentioned at the beginning, I go to Hood River to babysit and then ride my bike back home, but I've also made complete trips recently from Tacoma all the way back to the Dalles on public transportation. Took me 7 hours, which sounds like a lot, but on I-5 you can get stopped and have that much time spent anyway just getting there. And also appreciate, I had a friend who was having trouble with the scheduling, and the scheduling got worked out. So very responsive. That was well done.
Thanks, Commissioner Brady.
Jessica, I'll back up on the CEDDs, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and people on the call who might not be familiar really with the importance of that. As you do grant proposals to state, federal agencies, foundations, anything like that, one of the first questions asked always is, are you recognized in any type of regional strategy? What type of priority ranking do you have? Have you gone through that review process? And so there's a mechanism, thanks to MCEDD and thanks to that study, that you can always point to, but you need to get into that process and always keep that in mind. So it's a terrific resource, and it really does make a difference in many different ways, not just grant applications, but really in providing guidance, economic guidance for the region. So it's an important tool. Jessica, I do have one question. There had been some discussion a number of years back, I think, about Gillum County, kind of looking toward the west. Is that current status on that one? Is that still out there, or are they staying with eastern orientation?
Yeah, so it's actually popped up a couple times where Gillum County is asked to leave their economic development district and join ours. And talked about how they really look this way in terms of, more affinity with other counties and have a similar economy to a lot of our counties. So a few years ago, my board started talking about it. It's a big change. I didn't mention this, but we were formed in 1969, right? So we've been around for a long time, and there's been changes. We took on the link at one point. Actually, this is a fun fact. The housing authority was part of MCEDD, and it was spun out. So anyway, so where it is right now is my board had approved moving forward with it. It passed a resolution, and we submitted all of the documentation to the EDA. Actually has to approve that request. They wanted some additional information, and then as we were working on that over the last year, there's been a lot of political turmoil and change in Gillum County. There's a recall that 2 of their 3 county commissioners were succumbed to in May. And then also just with the turnover at MCEDD, we've been a little strapped for capacity. And so it just last week, actually, my executive committee talked about it officially and said, well, let's just put a pause on any work for now to just let MCEDD and Gillum County both get our legs under us. This is definitely not top priority for the new Gillum County government to solve. And I need to get some staffing.
Yeah, that's too bad. I know there's been turmoil out there. I understand Judge Farrar has stepped down, and yeah. It still makes sense ultimately, but that's wise. Let's wait for the dust to settle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Other questions around the table? I wish I could see people, but I can't. I can see Jessica.
I see people unmuting.
Go for it. Someone step forward. What do we
Sue,
got?
why don't you go?
I was just to say thank you for a great presentation of an amazing body of work.
Oh, thanks.
And also I was going to say hearing more about transportation would be a priority, I would say, for me personally, but also just for the college and for students sort of managing their lives and the logistics of their lives. So great work all around, and love to learn more about transportation.
Okay. Yeah, on the transportation system, we actually have a lot of great resources too, because we have a travel trainer. Yeah, Sarah Crook is our travel trainer. So she actually can meet even one-on-one with somebody. So if somebody's like, I want to try to figure out how to take the bus to the college, could you like map out that schedule for me and like tell me what kind of fare I need? Like she'll meet one-on-one with people. And then she also has a train the trainer program. We have the Gorge Transit Connect program, which works with our different partners to give free gorge passes to low-income individuals. So probably, especially if anybody is in your, I think the college has like a food bank, right? So any of those folks, I'm sure, could get a free pass. And that it doesn't cover dial-a-ride, but just riding we have 2 loops around the Dalles that connect to Hood River, that connect to Portland. They would get either a $20 a year pass or a $0 a year pass.
I wonder if the transit, Sarah, what's her title? Transit coordinator, navigator,
travel trainer.
Travel trainer. I wonder if she would like to come to like new student orientation in the fall, just to help students get a plan together as they're getting started in their school year.
Yeah, that's the other thing is she does a lot of tabling as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am gonna make a note, and potentially we've done that in the past, but I'll definitely make sure that we're thinking about it.
Okay, and I'll route that message to the planners for NSO also.
Okay. Yeah. Should she just reach out to you to get started?
Sure. Totally. Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah.
I'll jump in on this. The Gorge Pass works so nicely. One, it goes onto the phone and show it to the driver, and it's great. It works on all the systems. Really impressive. And it also works on the Washington side. Is that true, or is that separate?
It works in Skamania and Klickitat, or well, yeah, yeah, it does on the Washington side. The only one, right, because we're 5 counties, the only one is Sherman County right now doesn't have any regular bus routes, and so they're not a part of it. But yes, yeah, so you can go to White Salmon and Stevenson.
Also, at a volunteer meeting for Circles of Care on Tuesday, we heard that Circles of Care provides transportation for those who may need it, who may make it more convenient to have a person drive them. But we heard about a friend of one of our volunteers who needed a ride on Monday, called Link on Sunday, talked to some person who was able to set up the ride, so the person was picked up, taken to their medical appointment, and brought back. And I thought I was in the know, but I didn't realize that you could call on the weekend also to schedule a ride, and they were able to get the next day, which may be unusual, but they really appreciated it.
Oh, that's great. We usually just say 24-hour notice. So that's good. And then yes, we have been now we do operate 7 days a week. The bus routes, that's where I think on Sunday we only have dial a ride, and it's their abbreviated schedule, so like 9 to 4. But Saturday we have the dial a ride, and we also run at least one of the bus routes on the Dalles. Yeah. So there's been a lot of this has been state investment in the transit system. There's a payroll tax actually, so all of you that are still working, a teeny tiny bit of your paycheck goes to supporting transit, and it comes back to Wasco County. And then just grant writing. Yeah, definitely not from fares. Sometimes people are like, well, could you ever fully fund this with bus fares? And you're like, no. We would not charge anything that would be affordable. It's a public service, right? Like police or fire.
Thank you for looking at it that way, Jessica. An important service.
Well, the cost also to manage fares, it eats up a lot of what you earn in fares. Go back. I may have missed this. When does the SEP process restart? It wrapped up. It seemed like a couple months ago.
Yeah. So usually the end goal is every March is when the MCEDD board adopts the regional top 10 list. So I think it usually ends up going to the county in January. So we actually kind of started, I would say October. So October to December is meeting with the communities to see what updates there have been on their projects. And then coming up with that top 10 list that the county sees in January. One of the things we had heard from Tyler, the county administrator, was, is there a way that we could maybe do, because the process that we use to gather those projects every year is quite extensive, and maybe we only do that every other year, and then in between years it's just like more of like an email or a phone call instead of a community meeting, because there probably hasn't been too much change. So we're looking at that, because that would just then change some of our workload for the Wasco Economic Development Commission, basically.
That makes a lot of sense. That there should be. It's unlikely that everything would get done in 1 year, and most projects are going to roll over 2, 3, 4 more years. And so updating and making them simplifying, taking projects out of a workload frees up everything. It's a creative process to just do what's necessary.
Yeah.
Jessica, I might have missed it earlier. I had some bandwidth issues here, obviously. Did you talk at all about the brownfield grant that MCEDD has received?
No, I didn't. I missed that.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Tell us about that one.
I still forget about all the things that we do. So Wasco County and the city of the Dalles were so successful with their original $500,000 grant for brownfields assessments that they, at that point, actually, it was Tyler Stone had said, could MCEDD apply for one so we can get some more money? And we said, well, sure, but we're going to apply for the 5 counties. And so we got a $1 million grant for brownfields assessment. Those are the phase 1 or phase 2. And that's the Dalles especially has had such success with that program, helping with some of the redevelopment downtown or just general cleaning up things. And so we're just rolling out the 1 million across the 5 counties. And then we were excited, of course, to hear that the Dalles got another 500,000. So that'll be really helpful because we're definitely seeing, since the Dalles is, as a community, has been hearing about the Brownfields grant for a few years now, we are still getting like a lot of interest from the Dalles for that program. And it'll be nice to have your own pot of money. So the Dalles doesn't eat up the whole regional 1 million.
Exactly.
But what was it? So it's public or private. It has to have some kind of redevelopment potential. It can even do things like, so like for the Last Stop Saloon, for example, they use the Brownfield grant to assess their upper level floors for, asbestos and lead paint, and then were able to pay for a design to show how they could do like a floor plan to turn those upper level stories back into residential. And it's not a full like engineering plan that they could go and then construct with, but it is something that they could use to then get funding for. Because Dan actually is leading the program in the Dalles, so we're replicating it in what Dan's been doing here, but on a regional level. So is there anything you want to add, Dan?
No, we're going through the filing process to actually secure the funding. The Dalles was actually a recipient this past cycle of 2 of the 6 brownfield grants awarded in Oregon. One specific to the school district for Chenoweth Middle School, the childcare renovation project. So that will mitigate the asbestos that was identified as part of the grant that Jessica just mentioned, that original coalition grant that's wrapping up now. So the city also received a $500,000 grant. We're selected, that's the term right now. We haven't received the money yet. We have to go through a second application process, which is just basically submitting the work plan, submitting the budget, all of that. And we submitted the draft work plan on Monday. So that's under review now. Everything has to be turned in by the first week of July. And then we would start the cycle ideally October 1st. You don't want to start any earlier than that, or you're starting to expend federal funds without a signed contract, and CFOs get a little bit nervous when you do that. So we're waiting until October 1st, hoping the money becomes available by then. We've been cautioned by our program officer it might be a little bit later in the calendar year. There are things going on in DC that we can't control, as we all know. But it's in the pipeline anyway.
So
Other questions for Jessica?
does
No.
is there a connection between what MCEDD does and the urban renewal districts?
That's
No,
a good
not really.
Jessica, go ahead. I missed that.
Yeah, I was mostly just saying not really. I know, like
I'm not proposing. I'm not saying there should be. I'm trying to see how things work.
Yeah, Dan, what's your response?
I would say that if a priority project were identified on the SEDS list that was within the urban renewal district, I'm going to go back a long way. But the maritime terminal, the cruise ship dock, I believe the roundabout, going back in SEDS processes, I believe those were all priority projects at one time or another. I'd have to go back through some old SEDS reports going back into the early 2000s probably, or late 1990s. But at that point, those were funded partly by urban renewal, partly by federal grants, partly by state grants. And so there's a case where you can point to a priority listing on MCEDD to help receive some of the funding streams that go into these multi-million-dollar projects. Right now, I don't believe we have anything of that level in urban renewal. The urban renewal district is dwindling right now. The district goes away in 2029, and according to the analysis we've been doing this past week, it might be sooner than that. So you know, what I mentioned First Street a little bit earlier. That is an example of something that could be on MCEDD, but we need to address it right away. So we probably don't have time to go through the cycle on that one. We've got some fairly urgent safety issues that we need to deal with on that project. But anyway, long answer. There's a connection. If a project is on the MCEDD, then it can become something that aligns with urban renewal and can help drive an urban renewal project.
And I'll just add, sometimes businesses will contact us and they'll say where we could have been able to direct them to like the urban renewal agency for specific projects. If it's not something that they're, you know, or lending resources, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have a pretty detailed discussion in this forum one of these days about urban renewal. Question being, does the agency continue after the district terminates? That's a possibility. And then you look at things like a West Side district, for instance. But right now the task is to wind down the current district and put those remaining resources to best use. Other questions for Jessica? MCEDD?
I think we've exhausted it, Dan.
All right. Well, as Lisa says, it might be time to give people back another, what, 10, 11 minutes of their mornings here?
Well,
if that sounds okay with everyone?
Yeah, Sue and I were trying to get a calendar date together. Maybe we could stay on here and do that.
Certainly.
Sure.
I'll leave this meeting open then and let you two proceed.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Jessica.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jessica.
Okay,
Thank you very
bye-bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Not that much.
I'm going to go on mute, folks.
Hello, Sue.
Hi, how are you, Phil?
I'm very well, very well.
Good. I remember we were trying to get a date on the calendar, but will you remind me what we were going to do?
Okay, and I'm apologizing. You were asking for some help a while back, and I didn't get back to your letter, and I felt awful about it. But this I think has to do with the foundation, the college foundation.
Oh, I know what it is. I was asking if you could share any people that you think that would be receptive to hearing from me in Wasco County, just about the college and the foundation. I'm trying to sort of, what I've seen in a survey that we did of our board in terms of like a skills inventory and knowledge of communities, is that we are sort of lacking in the rural Wasco County area. I mean, all of Wasco County is rural, but I think you know what I mean, like not right in the Dalles, rather in the outlying county.
Yeah.
I had put out a request to you and to, I think, one other commissioner. I think it was
Probably Steve Kramer, most likely.
I may have gotten Scott Heggie instead, but
Would be good too.
I was hoping that you would have some suggestions for people that, you know, you think might be receptive to hearing from me. Because I'm not just looking for people to, quote, join the board. I'm looking more for like community people who can kind of help me be more plugged in with what's happening and priorities for the community and that kind of thing.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So because that kind of steers me in different directions. So help me with, when I think of the college foundation, I think of scholarships and getting basically going out and getting money to do things for the college, but sounds like this might be a little different.
I mean, me knowing the community better will allow me to do more of that work. There's no
Okay.
question about that, but I wouldn't be seeking people, like if you gave me a list of people, I wouldn't be hitting those people up for money. I would be sort of meeting with them to brief them on the foundation so that they're aware of what we're doing, which is more than just scholarships.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I
would be
have
more
one.
like expanding our network.
Yeah. Good. Okay, I have one person in mind. I'd like to reach out to them first.
Yeah, for sure. And what I would love is if you find some people that you think would be receptive, if you could just do like an email intro for us, I could just take it from there.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll do the first touch
Okay.
and then get it from there. I have one person in mind. He does IT work. He does some teaching in Maupin, both I think it's computers and also a physics class. So he's a younger person, which is interesting, but being involved in a school is good. That might be the best, because I'm thinking I can get some other people who would have a broader range, but actually being, excuse me. But actually just having a person within the school, the high school would probably be pretty useful because could become a conduit.
Yeah, absolutely. That
So
would be fantastic.
I'll try to find two people, that one in the school and then somebody who's broader. I'm also looking for people for the health district board, so I'm on a search. Okay.
Yeah. And then the other piece of foundation business I had reached out to you about was really just whether you wanted to read scholarship applications, and I'll just put you on the list for next year.
Okay. My wife, Mary Jo, does that a lot, and if she's willing, she's a pro at it.
We're set for this year, but I'll reach out to you guys next year.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
All right.
Bill.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.